Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Lead Sites Live. If you've watched these in the past, you might have noticed that I am not your usual host, Chris Narowitz. He actually has left EasyAgentPro. Long story short, he found a really great job that he was really excited about. We're sorry to see him go, but we're really excited for him. We wish him all the best. In the meantime, I will be your host. My name is Lucas. If you have been a member of the Beat Zillow group for any length of time, you probably know who I am. I'm the guy who does all the posts and shares all of EasyAgentPro's blogs all the time. Despite rumors, I am not actually a bot just posting in there every day. I am a real flesh and blood human being. And today we're actually going to be talking about a topic that I have a lot of experience with because it's one of the things that I do for EasyAgentPro and their website, which is SEO. Now, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and a lot of agents that we work with who have real estate websites through us have a lot of trouble ranking on search engines, right? There's kind of two approaches to getting traffic to your website. You can advertise, and you can use social media, and you can kind of use all that clout you have or that money that you have to try to drive traffic to your website, or you can try to have that traffic come through organically by having people just search for you on Google, search for you on Yahoo, search for you on Bing, and find you. How those people search for you and find you, though, is kind of what SEO is all about. You really have to be able to think about what the people that you want to have visiting your website are looking for, and then be able to kind of shape the content of your website to fit, right? And I think a lot of agents struggle with this because you guys have full-time jobs. You are real estate agents. You are not website designers. No offense, but you're not website designers as your full-time gig, right? You have a lot of other things going on. Maybe you've hired somebody to design your website for you and manage your website for you, and that's great. But if you are like our clients who tend to run their own website and just kind of have it going in the background, it's very important to be able to understand these kind of basics of website design and how to structure your website so that you can actually get that traffic to your website. So we're going to be kind of going over that today. I promise it sounds complex, right? Search engine optimization, but it's actually really simple once you get into it. So I'll try to go slow. I'll try to go at a beginner pace. For some of you who've tuned into these before, who turned into all of Chris's webinars that he did live on the feed, this might seem a little basic for you, but I kind of want to cover my bases since this is my first one and just kind of give people a show. Also, real quick, before we go any farther, I do apologize. This was supposed to be live on our Beat Zillow page, but we ran into some technical difficulties. So I am pre-recording all of this. I will then upload it to YouTube, and I will post it to our Beat Zillow group in the morning so that everybody can take a look and see what they would have missed otherwise. So let's go right into it. What is SEO and why is it so important? We've already said that it's search engine optimization, which means it's how people find your website. But more than that, it's how your website interacts with the internet as a whole, right? Those search engine companies out there, Google, Yahoo, Bing, those are really the big three. And honestly, most people just stick to Google. Those are the ones that are going to be trolling through hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of different websites and trying to find out when somebody searches for a specific string of words, also known as keywords, which websites to match those up to, right? So that, like, for example, when you search for the Orlando Magic, the top search result is the Orlando Magic's website, right? It's not a magic company in Orlando or why Orlando is such a magical city to visit. It knows what you're looking for and it matches up with that content. And it does that in a couple of ways. There's the robotic side and there's the human side, and both of them are pretty important to the process. The robotic side of things is the actual term itself. So you want to pick something as your keyword that you will then sprinkle into whatever page you're working on, your blogs, your farm pages, your home page, everything. And that needs to be something unique enough to stand out, right? Something that other companies aren't already using that you can kind of compete with, but something that will help the program, help the algorithm understand that you are this thing, right? You are homes for sale in Albuquerque, homes for sale in Florida, et cetera, et cetera. And the other side of things is the human interaction. And that's really important because if you have a website that's really bland, if you have a website that is just full of these keywords and doesn't feel like it was written by a real person, people aren't going to enjoy reading your content. And if people don't enjoy reading your content, they're not going to find it interesting enough to share with other people. And people sharing content with other people is how online businesses succeed or fail. So being able to appeal to both the algorithm that is looking for those words a specific number of times and the human population that is actually viewing your content, those are kind of the two steps that you have to merge together in order to have a successful SEO. So, for example, let's say that you Google your own name, right? You'll definitely get search results. If I were to search for Lucas Germany, there are only 4 or 5 other Lucas Germanys in the United States. It's not a super common name anyway, but my name will pop up, as will my employment with EasyAgentPro, as will my employment with past jobs. You might see my Facebook, you might see my LinkedIn, you'll see my history. And I would imagine that would be the same with you, unless you have an incredibly common name like, John Smith. It's going to pop up and you're going to get some results. Even more so if you specify the city or the place you went to school or something that kind of narrows down that search field, right? But if I was a real estate agent in my hometown of Palm Bay, searching for real estate agents in Palm Bay is not going to get you my website, right? There are probably hundreds of thousands of other agents out there, all of which are already eating up all of those keywords in the specific spot. So that's why it's just not going to work. You have to find a keyword that's specific enough and unique enough to you that other people aren't using so that you can succeed. And that's really kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So on your website, and I already kind of hinted at this, where does SEO matter? And the short answer is it kind of matters all over, right? I mean, you want your website to be as optimized as possible across the board. You want your homepage to be optimized. You want your blogs to be optimized, your Insta farms, your vendor pages, your team page that says all of your names. You want it so that when anybody searches for anything about you, they get that page and they pop up. Realistically, though, that's going to be very difficult, right? And some pages are more important to focus on than others because whereas something like a homepage might be something that you really do want to show up on Google, your teams page, the list of preferred vendors that you work with, even sometimes more important pages like your landing page, those are pages that you can drive traffic to through social media, that you can drive traffic to through advertisement. So you don't really have to worry about getting those pages to pop on Google because you're already getting those people to those pages through Facebook, through Twitter, through Instagram, through TikTok, through whatever you're doing. The pages that I would really recommend focusing on, and the ones that we're going to be talking about today, obviously your homepage, but I would say almost more importantly, your blog and your farm page, your neighborhood page, if you will. And from that blog page and that neighborhood page, you can then direct that traffic to your home page or to a landing page, and then eventually push them through to, contact them, get more information. That's kind of what we call a sales funnel, right? Which I know Chris talked about ad nauseum in a number of his webinars, so we won't go too much into that. But basically just the kind of start point and the end point of your sales presentation, where you hopefully meet new clients, hopefully get new business, sell new houses, buy new houses, whatever it is that you're in the market for. So blogging, which is really, in my opinion, the most important thing that you're going to be doing. Like I talked about, you're really trying to find that magical balance, right? And the most important thing that you need to do is you need to find a topic that's going to be interesting, but that everybody else isn't going nuts over. We've used this example way too many times at EasyAgentPro, but we're really proud of this one client from a few years ago who had a entire blog about Christmas lights in his town. He basically, it was Christmas time, and he just did a post about, if you're driving out with your family, if you're on a holiday light tour, here are all the best places that you have to hit. This is the route that you can take. Just a nice local down-home post. And you wouldn't think that something like that would have value on a real estate website, right? You would think the kind of posts that you would want to be doing are 10 tips to retile your bathroom floor, or how to remove grout from an old whatever. But those posts are so overdone. Those posts are seen all over that, if somebody searches for 10 tips on how to retile a bathroom floor, and you wrote a blog about that, you can bet that your blog isn't going to be the one that shows up, because there are hundreds of thousands of other companies out there that are using those same articles to rank. What this guy did was he took a topic that was interesting to people, that people really cared about, very seasonal, very low competition, and he ran with it, and he completely succeeded because he knew what people in his area were looking for, and he was able to deliver on that. That's why I would recommend, as important as it is to use your blogs to populate those with information and content that people could use, really, I think your star blog is going to be something kind of unique to your area, right? Maybe it's dog parks in your local area, right? So for me, I might write about dog parks in Palm Bay, Florida. They actually just opened up a new place nearby that's kind of a video game arcade bar hybrid, and everybody's talking about it. That would be an interesting thing to write up about, right? Like the top 10 places for millennials in Palm Bay, Florida, because if you're trying to attract that 25 to 40 crowd of people, that's a good topic. That's a good article. Our demographic really loves that kind of stuff. So really, it's just kind of finding your niche, which is something we talk about all the time, and then finding the appropriate keyword. And that's something that, unfortunately, I can't really help you with beyond giving you these tips, right? You're going to be the person who knows your area. You're going to be the person who knows what works and what doesn't. And it's kind of up to you to do the research and figure out what you can do in your area. Now, again, there are some general ideas you could take. The dog park one is a good one. Not every real estate agent is going to be writing about that. Restaurants, probably a little more common, probably a little less of a grabber, but you just kind of have to think outside the box and think about what is your area so well known for? What are things that people in your area are interested in? What type of demographic are you interested in targeting? Are you trying to sell to seniors? Are you trying to sell to millennials? Are you trying to sell to Gen Z? You know, whatever that age group is, get into their head and really take your time with your articles. Don't go nuts. Don't hammer something out in a day and call it finished. Choose the keyword, start writing about it. Take your time, do your research, link out to other websites, link to other pages on your website. All of that stuff really helps your SEO. And also, Google is your friend when you're writing an article. If you have a few keywords in mind, say you got restaurants in Palm Bay, Florida, dog parks in Palm Bay, Florida, arcade bars in Palm Bay, Florida, and you're wanting to figure out which one of those has the least competition, you can go onto Google and you can just enter those keywords into Google and see how many search results you get. Some of those will be 400,000, some of those will be 400 million or 400 billion results. You want to choose the ones that aren't as competitive that you think you'll have a better chance of ranking for, and that's a really easy way to find that information out. And blogging is very similar to, again, what we call farm pages, what a lot of people call neighborhood pages. You really just want to avoid using common phrases that everybody is using. So I'm going to open this up real quick. You can see I've had this blog open in the background this entire time. I'm going to switch over to InstaFarm and just kind of show you guys here. The headline that we go with by default when somebody buys an EasyAgentPro website is Auburn Homes for Sale. That's the kind of demo page that everybody gets to see how farm pages work on lead sites. Now, I wouldn't recommend going with something like Auburn Homes for Sale. That is a very generic headline, a very generic kind of keyword. We have one that we actually recommend to our clients, and they've seen a lot of success with it. We've had a lot of clients that have used farm pages that have been able to rank on page one pretty easily by switching up their keyword from the area of their location, Auburn Homes for Sale, to Auburn Real Estate Guide. Simple as that. Because the term real estate guide just doesn't get as much action online. A lot of people are talking about homes for sale. Not as many people think about using real estate guide as a keyword. So that one just naturally seems to work better for people. Now, if you're living in Auburn, and you try this and you Google it and you see a bunch of real estate guides, maybe this isn't right for you. Maybe you need to come up with something a little different. But it's just a general rule of thumb. We've had a lot of agents who've had a lot of success with this. Now, you're going to want to go in and you're going to want to sprinkle your keyword throughout the article. And you want to do it in a kind of organic way, right? Like we talked about. If you're too robotic, it's going to drive people away. People are going to feel like they're reading something that isn't really valuable, right? And you want to make sure that no matter what you're doing, the people that are reading it are enjoying what they're reading. So you might start to sprinkle in the keyword every now and then with something like Auburn, maybe this Auburn real estate guide will help you find your dream home. Read on for more information about this amazing area. And then you'll just sprinkle Auburn real estate guide into a few other areas. As a general rule of thumb, no matter what you're working on, whether it's a blog or a farm page or anything else, you want to aim for about 1 to 1.5% of the actual post to have the keyword in the word count. So a lot of times, whether you're using a lead site, which is EasyAgentPro's website, or your own website, like a WordPress website that has Yoast as an SEO guide, you'll get this stuff down here, which will tell you about your keyword, it'll tell you about your word count, and you'll actually be able to input your keyword to see how you're performing. So now we only added Auburn Real Estate Guide one time in the body of the post. So if we enter that in, you'll see it shows here, your keyword was used one time. It's showing up as 0.54%. Now that's obviously not 1% or more, so it's going to recommend that we do it a few more times. Now, 185 words is not a good post. Ideally, you want to shoot for a minimum of 600, but honestly, if you really want to rank, I would recommend at least 2,000 to 3,000 words, which means you're probably going to be using your keyword about 10 times or so in the post, so you have to get a little creative with it. I will say, be careful about writing the article first and then choosing the keyword. That's something that a lot of rookies do. And it's not awful. It's something that you can do, especially if you're using a blog writer, like an outside blog writer, or again, if you have like an EasyAgentPro website where we provide articles for you. You'll often get an article that'll be kind of a generic piece about a home or something related to home maintenance, how to sell your home, how to find the perfect home, and then it'll be up to you to choose a keyword and sprinkle that in and kind of edit the article. You can do that, but it's a lot harder, and it does tend to make the articles feel more robotic, less organic. So ideally, if you're going to be writing your articles yourself, which again, I really recommend, what you want to do is start by choosing the right keyword. Again, choose a few keywords, go on, compare them, see which ones are competitive, which ones are viable, and then start writing your article about that and actually shape the article around the keyword instead of trying to jam the keyword into the article in whatever place you can. It makes for a more organic read, and I think it makes for a more readable post. So with that, I just kind of want to wrap things up by going over a few do's and don'ts. And these are just some really basic things that I think everybody needs to know that everybody doesn't necessarily always think about. First and foremost, this one is really important, and I see a lot of people do it that really don't have as much experience online. Never, ever, ever, if you do anything else with your website, never come up with the idea to take your tagline, to take your keyword, with white font on a white background or black font on a black background and copy and paste it 400 times on the bottom of your website. Just don't do it. That was a trick that all of the spam websites used to do way back in the day, like year one of the internet. It does not work anymore. Google has gotten way more advanced. They know that. They can detect that there's something wrong. They will push your website so far down that it will never get any views. So don't try to game the system. You have to put in the work in order to actually get results. Also, be sure to include the keyword in the alt text of your image and also in your URL. If we go over here to the blog, you'll be able to see when you click on an image, now no matter what you're in, you're going to be able to use alt text. And this is just something that pops up when an image can't be loaded on the website to give people an idea of what the image actually is. It can also be used, I believe, when somebody who might have like a vision impairment is using a website and they can't actually see the screen, it'll read everything off to them. And I believe it reads the alt text to describe whatever the photo is. On an EasyAgentPro website, when you click on your image, you'll see it over here to the right. On another website, again, like WordPress, you might just have to right-click or click into it and actually edit the alt text in there. But again, on lead sites, it's pretty easy. And you can see here I've already added Auburn Real Estate Guide as the alternate text. But you want to make sure to do that because that's just extra SEO goodness that will help your site perform better. In addition to that, you'll often have a chance to edit the actual URL which is the spot up here at the top, right? If you type www.google.com into your search bar, that's Google's URL. Your website will be www.name of your website, and then it'll be / and then whatever the blog post is. Make sure that your blog's name is also the keyword. It's just another kind of helpful thing that really does help it rank. And it's very important. It might seem really superficial. It might seem like the kind of thing that you don't even think about. But a lot of times that metadata is very, very important. So over here on an EasyAgentPro website, you can see this is where you would input the focus keyword. Again, we would do Auburn Real Estate Guide. And then you've got the SEO title. You've got the meta description, which is, again, just something that pops up when somebody searches for your article on like a Google or a Bing or whatever. The meta description is what would actually show up when that URL is copied and pasted somewhere. So you just want to add it wherever you can. And you don't have to spam it. Just a single time in the meta description is fine. But just make sure that it's added in there so that, you get as much optimization as you can. The more you do, the better off you'll be. Also, I really want to talk to you guys about this SEO progress meter. It looks a little bit different on different pages on the EasyAgentPro website. Over here, you've got the SEO score meter for farm pages. If you're using WordPress, and I keep going back to that because that's a website that I tend to use when I'm not using a lead site, they will use Yoast SEO to determine your SEO score. And they'll have something almost identical to this, right? It'll show a list of what's good, what's bad, and what's questionable. And they might say things like, oh, you've only used your keyword 6 times. Oh, you don't have enough words, you don't have enough images, you don't have enough links to other websites or links to your own website. Those are all suggestions they'll make. This score that you see is important. You wanna use something like this to gather some data on how well your site is performing from an SEO standpoint. But it is not the end-all be-all. If it says 100%, which you should shoot for, that doesn't automatically mean that your blog is going to show up at the top of Google, right? That just means that for the keyword you chose, you've done everything right on the blog, everything that these sites recommend to maximize your chance to show up. It's still up to you to find the right keyword. So use it as a guide, but don't use it as the end-all be-all rule of law. It's still up to you to find the right keyword to figure out what's actually going to rank on Google and what's going to work. I hope that helped. I hope that kind of cleared up the SEO mystery for some of you. Again, like I said, a lot of what we went over today is really basic, really simple stuff. It's not overly complex. We are planning on kind of going into some more detail about some of this stuff in our next webinar, which will hopefully be live, assuming I can solve the complex mysteries of how to get on Facebook before then. But I do appreciate you for tuning in and listening. Quick plug, I obviously work for EasyAgentPro. I would highly recommend their websites, lead sites, to anyone who has trouble with their website, doesn't have the time to work on a full website and really needs help. Our support staff is fantastic. They're totally able to help you. Our sales team is amazing. You can schedule a demo over on EasyAgentPro.com and learn more about it. Ask them to take you through the site. We have so many features for you guys that we think just make owning a real estate website so much easier than it used to be 5 years ago. So go check us out, EasyAgentPro.com. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.